I love the idea that Canada and America and a lot of these other Western countries are extremely bigoted and racist because they're full of white people. But increasingly, a lot of the hate crimes that we do see tend to be fake, tend to be made up. And it seems like there's going to be another one of these, this time in Alberta. Somebody sent a letter to a mosque. And, once again, it's extremely unbelievable, but before all the facts are out about it yet, you already have the premier of Alberta calling it out, calling out Jason Kennedy, her potential opponent, in the upcoming elections, saying that he needs to call out white supremacy and admit that Islamophobia exists in Alberta. But this was most likely sent by somebody on the left, probably an Antifa member or far left progressive or a Muslim. But I'll read the statement because it's pretty stupid. Wednesday, January 30th, 2019. So, I guess the hate letter decided it'd be a good idea to put the date on there just so these people know when they dropped by and left the letter, so it would be like, I don't know, that much easier to find out who the people are, because then they could just, like, I don't know, look at a bunch of cameras around the area from like January 30th 2019. So uh, that's probably not a good idea to put that if you're one of these fucking hoaxsters making this shit up, right? Which it most likely is, because if the cops kind of look into that, they would be able to, there's probably some cameras in the area. And if it's like left at the mailbox at the mosque or something, there's a good chance that there's some images or something of the person, maybe a videotape. But we will see if the police actually follow up on it, or if they just kind of drag their heels, do nothing about it. And that would probably be the best for these fakesters, fraudsters, because then, yeah, they wouldn't be exposed. And then the politicians can go and virtue signal about this case, then add it to the hate crime list in Canada, so then they could release some articles about it in a couple of weeks telling us how the rise in hate crimes and Islamophobia is increasing. Look at all these statistics that we've been compiling. See, there's this letter that was sent to a mosque. There's this happened, this event happened, but we find out like probably 3/4 of these are fake. And the ones that weren't proven to be fake, they probably just didn't look into them enough to find out that they were fake. But I'll read the rest of the story, and it's like, good day. dot. On behalf of real Albertans, we would like to advise you that you and your religion don't belong here in Alberta. We kindly ask you to close down your fake worship house and leave, or accept Jesus as your one true God. We are white. We are Christians. We are proud. We will fight for our right to exist in our own country. You will not force your savage laws on us. Our women will not be covered and beaten. I kind of agree with at least like half of that. I'm like, we fight for our right to exist in our own country. I don't see anything wrong with that. You'll not force your savage laws on us. There's nothing wrong with that. Their laws are savage. Our women will not be covered and beaten. I agree. Yes, our women will not be covered and beaten, because guess what? This is what they do in a lot of Islamic cultures. Okay, women, they don't have a lot of rights. You do something against your father, you don't listen to him, then you're gonna be like honor raped or something. But then they redacted a little bit, and they're like, you are a guest here. Don't overstay your welcome. Our premier to be Jason Kennedy is going to take Alberta back. So adapt if you want to stay. We are not racist. We just want our way of life back. We just like we did in Edmonton, we will continue watching you. So they're essentially saying that this is the soldiers of Odin trying to lead us to believe that, because I think it was that group that walked into a mosque in Edmonton or something about a month back to use the washroom, or I guess maybe they were staking it out I don't know, but it didn't look good either way. But because they did do that, now it's going to be a lot easier to frame them in the future, like what is happening right now. And now you're going to see probably a lot more police investigating these groups, or maybe going to deem them as hate groups soon, and they won't be allowed to operate in Canada. And this is probably the eventual goal of a lot of these fake hate crimes that are being sent to people, right? They're trying to get the idea that, yeah, Islamophobia exists because, like, the Alberta Muslim Public Affairs Council has called on Jason Kennedy to clearly and unequivocally reject white supremacy, to stop sending mixed signals to the Muslim community, and recognize the fact that Islamophobia exists. It's so funny to think that Canada and America are like a white supremacy. It's like white people are the least tribalistic people on the fucking planet. We hold pride in our race less than every other group of people. Now, I wish we did a little bit more. I wish we cared about not being replaced by other cultures, but unfortunately we don't. So I kind of wish some of this letter was partially true, because Canada would be a much better place if that were the case, if white people were not being replaced in our own fucking countries. But I'll read a little bit more of the article. This is a statement from Jason Kennedy after it was revealed. He's like, let me be perfectly clear. This hatred and bigotry has no place in our Alberta. All Albertans must be free to practice their faith in peace. To the ignorant fool who sent this letter, you'd best look at my long-standing and ongoing work in pluralistic outreach, including all races, religions, and creeds. I have no intention of changing that work. If you are willing to work hard, care about getting our province back on track for all Albertans, and support free enterprise principles, then UCP welcomes you. If you want to spread hate and division, you have no place in this party and never will. And, you know, this is the basic truth about, a lot of conservatives in Canada. They don't really care. Most conservatives, most liberals, we don't care. Or, I mean, most liberals and conservatives and libertarians don't care what race you really are, as long as you're not for taking away my freedoms, taking away my freedom of speech and all this stuff. But I also have to add the caveat in there. This doesn't mean I want to be replaced by people. Just because somebody believes a lot of the same things that I do doesn't mean I want a bunch of Indian people to come to Canada and then completely replace our population with Indian people, even if they go out and play hockey and have a lot of the same values that we do. I think we have a right to stay the majority in Canada. I don't see how that is a problem, and I think most people should understand that and have empathy for that. But this letter, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with the UCP. I think it's clear that there is a small group of social miscreants taking it up upon themselves to do this. In fact, I wouldn't be completely surprised if the UCP logo was deliberately used in this letter in order to smear our Big Tent tolerant party. Oh yeah, in the letter they had the UCP, logo, as well as like a swastika on there. So it's like, oh my God, are you serious? In closing, I remind you of the principles of our United Party as stated in the founding document. Blah, 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 United Conservatives, founding principles, yada, yada, yada. And then Rachel Notley issued her statement, and she's like, on behalf of all Albertans, I strongly condemn the acts of racism and Islamophobia we've seen recently directed at our Muslim friends and neighbors here in Alberta. Racism and hate is not welcome here in Alberta, and I'm going to continue to fight to ensure all Albertans feel safe and welcome. In response to the hate incident at the Markaz UI Islam Mosque, the Alberta Muslim Public Affairs Council has called on Jason Kennedy to clearly and unequivocally reject white supremacy, to stop sending mixed signals to the Muslim community, and recognize the fact that Islamophobia exists. So what are the mixed messages that Jason Kennedy is exactly sending? See, because to a liberal, you're sending mixed messages if you're not actively every single day saying that Islamophobia exists on Twitter. Islamophobia is a real problem. White supremacy is a real problem. Conservatives talking about the border and illegal alien crossings, that's a problem. We should stop talking about that. This is what they mean. They don't, it sounds like, oh, he just needs to, recognize Islamophobia exists. Like it's like when they tell people, do you think racism doesn't exist? And that's like, no, I think it exists. I just don't think we should have, like, I don't know, hate speech laws or hate crime laws or certain discrimination things. I think it still exists, but I think people should have the right to discriminate. And, a little bit more onto that, but I'll read a little bit more of her comment. While Jason Kennedy has said there's no place for hatred in his party, racists and extremists clearly feel welcome with them. As such, in the interest of pushing back against the presence of hate in our province, Mr. Kennedy has also elected obligation to personally condemn these values and to also take concrete action to evict these factions from the UCP. So he's talking about probably the Soldiers of Odin and any group that is talking about immigration. Like, you need to condemn these people and make sure that they know that you hate them. And that's just going to fuck over his support to make it harder for him to win. Because if he comes out, condemns these people, condemns the right like that, then that would probably make it obviously a lot harder for him to win. He's going to need some of these people. And they're not racist and bigots and all this other shit. A lot of these Soldiers of Olden people, they're like community watch, the ones that are like in Canada. And, even some of their message, let's just say it was to keep Canada white and whatnot, keep our culture the same. Well, I agree with that. It should be kept the same. We shouldn't be replaced by some other foreign culture, right? That's bullshit. It's unfair. While Jason Kennedy has said there's no this, she wants him to, get these people out of her party. The fight against hate and racism is not an event. It is a process, and it must never stop. This is a leadership moment for Mr. Kenny and a test of his character. I'm joining AIMPAC and Albertans to say no more mixed signals, no more dog whistles, no more defending racist candidates and policies. It's time to clearly condemn Islamophobia and stand with us to fight back against the spreading of racism and intolerance. So whatever she means by that, I guess, destroy his chances of winning the election and just get behind her. I guess that's how he's gonna stand and fight against Islamophobia. I don't know, pander more to the Muslim group. Trust me, the conservatives already do that enough. I don't know what these people really want. I guess they want them to stop talking about Roxham Road or things like this, and stop talking about the Trudeau and the way he's handling the refugee crisis and how he's letting in a bunch of criminals into Canada and not fully processing them, whatnot. Like, oh, if you talk about this, you're a meanie and a hatred, and you hate people and you're racist, and this means you're Islamophobe. And you're like, a lot of the people crossing the border illegally stuff aren't even like Muslim. Some of them are Muslim, some of them aren't. But I don't know. We're gonna see more of these fake hate crimes because they work, and maybe they're gonna get a little bit better with making them look more real and convincing, because at the present moment it looks pretty fucking fake to me. Just what they were saying and whatnot, and clearly they think like this is, they probably follow these groups to somewhat, or follow some right-wing groups, so they know kind of a little bit of what they want, so they try to write it to, as much as they possibly could, to make it seem like it's not too crazy. But yeah, no, I don't see why they would put the date at the very top, and I guess they're like, oh, let's try to make them seem Canadian, so we'll have them say like good day, but they'll be kindly racist. That's to a leftist, that's the worst kind of racist. They prefer the open racists that are like, fuck you, N-word, blah 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 blah. Or like, oh, the real bad ones are the ones that appear nice and say that they're nice, and they say nice things, but really if they want their country to stay the same, they're fucking just as bad or worse than the Nazis. And you're like, no, they're demonizing people a lot of the times. Like when they say this, who, like I said, just want to keep their country the same. And that doesn't mean you're a racist, doesn't mean you're hateful bigot, doesn't mean you're worse than a Nazi. It's just that you don't want things to change dramatically. And that's okay. Not everybody is extremely progressive and is okay with dressing up their son as a girl and their daughter as a boy and giving them medication to change their gender. Not everybody is that progressive. Some people don't want to change the normal things and the way things work so fast. And if you think that importing different cultures of people that have lived in different countries that have done things vastly different than we do things are just going to adopt the things that we do and still have life the same, you're sorely mistaken. It will not be the same. Maybe it will be better. I don't think it will be, but maybe it will be better. Maybe they have better ideas and their culture is better and all of this crap. But if that were the case, there would be a lot more people trying to get into their countries instead of them getting into our countries, right? This is just logic. There'd be way more people going there. They wouldn't be escaping their countries all the time. And yeah, you can blame some intervention militarily by America and other stuff like that, but largely the reason countries are poor and shitty and all that is because their governments are shit and their people don't hold them accountable, and it's kind of the own fault of your own people a lot of the time. Because why were you not able to defend yourself? Why were you in the position to be taken advantage of? Why did all of this happen, right? It's you can blame everybody else as much as you want, but typically people put themselves in the situations that they're in. It's not us or necessarily the influence from different governments that keep your country shit. Like Venezuela, they're going to blame that on interference from America and this is all because of America and that's why this is their plan from the start. And you're like, no, you just look at their economy, look at the way that Maduro distributed the resources, how they didn't diversify the economy whatsoever. They depended like 100% on their resources of like oil and stuff. And then when the prices go down for that, well, it's not going to be good for you because you weren't smart. And, your people voted you in and wanted to keep you in because they weren't that smart either. And they thought, oh, well, this guy sounds really good. Sounds going to give us all this free shit. Sounds great. Everybody's going to vote for this guy in droves. But see, that's why democracy is shit, because the majority of people don't know what's good, don't know what is actually going to be good for them in the future. And oftentimes people need to learn through mistakes and through failing and stuff. But with the government, the big government, just always paying people and giving them money, and whenever they screw up, the government will take care of them. Well, they never actually figure out how to do things correctly because they're always being held up by somebody else. But I got in kind of a tangent there. This is just another hate crime bullshit. It's fake news. More fake news from the fake news media in Canada. And that's pretty much all I had to say about this video. If you like my content, subscribe. And I'm also going to be having a stream tonight at about 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. I have a set schedule on my channel for it. But I'll be doing a stream with Kelly Day. So I hope you guys drop down, check it out. And I hope you have a great day. See you later.